Pirates are winners of 3 straight, including a dramatic win last night in San Francisco. With the deadline looming, I think we need to really look at what 5 years of rebuilding have brought us. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. In today's episode, we're breaking down last night's win, McCutchen's milestone, and what it all means for this team. Then we're going to zoom out. 5 years into the rebuild, how far have the Pirates really come? We'll compare 2021 to 2025 and ask the big question, is it working? And finally, we'll talk about the fog hanging over the front office. Who's in charge? What's the plan? How much longer can this confusion really last? Let's get into it. Last night in San Francisco, the Pirates pulled off a gritty 6-5 win over the Giants, and it came with a milestone moment from a franchise legend. Andrew McCutchen, in his 17th season, did something only 10 other players in MLB history have done. This one had a little bit of everything. Early offense, bullpen battles, and a late inning hero. Pirates jumped out early. Nick Gonzalez homered in the first, his 4th of the year. And then in the second, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa ripped a 2-run double. Tommy Pham followed that by an RBI single. It made it 4-1. The Giants didn't go away quietly. They answered with 2 in the bottom of the second, and tied it in the 4th on Willy Adames' second RBI hit of the night. And that's when the game settled into a bullpen chess match until the 7th. In the top of the 7th, it's tie game. Carson Seymour is on the mound for San Francisco, and Andrew McCutchen steps in and delivers a go-ahead 2-run homer. It was his 10th home run of the season and the 329th of his career. But here's the real nugget. McCutchen is now the 11th player in MLB history to hit 10 or more home runs in each of his first 17 games. That's elite company. Think about the consistency, the longevity, the professionalism it takes to do that. And he's doing it back in the black and gold. That's special to me anyway. Mitch Keller just didn't have it. Just 2 innings, 3 earned runs, 73 pitches in 2 innings. That's the most in the majors this year for any pitcher in 2 innings. The bullpen, they were pretty much nails. Yohan Ramirez came in and gave them 2.1 scoreless innings. He got the win, his first of the season. Then it was Matson, Santana, and finally David Bednar. Bednar made it interesting, gave up a run and 3 hits, but closed it out for his 17th save and 17 chances. It's the longest active streak in the majors right now. That's what you want from your closer. Even if it's messy, he gets it done. And it hasn't been messy very often either, not recently. This was the Pirates' 3rd straight win. It came against the Giants team that's been hovering around 500 all year. It also came on a night when San Francisco debuted their top pitching prospect, Carson Whisenhunt. Bucks tagged him early. We had already talked about Gonzalez taking him deep in the first and how they added on, but to Whisenhunt's credit, he really settled in and gave them 3 scoreless innings after that. Still, the Pirates did what they needed to do. They jumped on a rookie. They held the lead, and the bullpen carried it home. This win doesn't change the season or anything. Obviously, the Pirates are still where they are. They're still sellers at the deadline. But it is a reminder, again, of what this team can be. Nick Gonzalez is showing growth. He really is. Andrew McCutchen, he's still writing chapters in a Hall of Very Damn Good career. Can we call it that at least? I think so far. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they did last night. I thought that one of the more interesting things was Mitch Keller having such a strange outing. He usually does so well, and Henry Davis was frustrated too. You could tell. Henry's very good at calling games, But man, you can read it all over his face when the pitcher isn't landing his spots, because he gets really frustrated about what he can and can't call. And with Mitch, I don't think there was a single pitch in his arsenal by the end of that second inning that Henry Davis felt comfortable telling him to throw. Nothing was going where it wants. You'll have this every once in a while. Mitch was due for one of these types of performances. I saw some discourse last night that this was Mitch's attempt to make sure he doesn't get traded, or this ensures that nobody's going to want to pay for him now, or this is going to change. Listen, general managers in baseball do not make big decisions on trades like this based on one performance. Ever. So get that out your head. GMs aren't fans. Fans do things like that. Fans think things like that. Executives don't. If they were interested in Mitch Keller before this game, they're still interested in Mitch Keller after this game. If they weren't, they still aren't. Nothing changed from last night as far as his market availability goes or anything. I just think what they showed last night was that every once in a while, you are allowed to win with offense. And that's what they did. There have not been very many baseball games this year where the Pirates have won a game in which they allowed more than 4 runs. We saw the stat repeatedly about what they do when they score more than 4. That's cool. But not very often do we see them have a W next to any game in which they've given up more than 4. I think it was an important thing last night, for real. The offense as a whole, it's still got a lot of sputter spots and places where it just kind of hits dead zones, and guys just tend to hit dead zones. They gave Brian Reynolds the night off last night too. I thought that was a good move. I actually think I brought it up on the show last week. I think it's time to give him a couple days down. I would continue it into today. I know they won't, but I would give him another day off today. Give him a couple days back to back. His dad's out there in California, probably. Talk to him. See if you can get his bat right while he's out there. But it's a good time to me to go ahead and give a break. You're on a 3-game winning streak. It's not like you have the pressure of the world weighing on you either way with your record at this point. But you've got a 3-game winning streak going on. Let Brian Reynolds sit for another day. Let's see if Brian can come back and really finish this last stretch strong and get his numbers back to some semblance of what they've been. It's not working just playing him through it. I can say that. That's always been the method with Brian Reynolds. That's always been what you've wanted to try to do with him. He's that type of player. When he's struggling, the best thing to do, play him more. Well, they've tried that this year. And this year, for whatever reason, it's not working. This year, I think he needs to sit for a minute. At some point, when this season's all done, I think we, you and I at least, we're going to have to go back and really look at that early part of the season where he hurt his shoulder and had to DH for about a month. The more I think about it, the more I'm wondering if they should have done something different there. If they maybe should have put him on the IL, or they should have perhaps just scrapped the idea of trying to have him continue to hit through it, because I think it might have taught him some bad habits. Sometimes when something's hurt, you teach yourself, like when you have a bad back, you can also develop other bad joints because you're putting more pressure on certain parts of your body to compensate for your issues with your back. Well, all I'm saying is Brian Reynolds might have been compensating for his shoulder issue a little bit, and in doing so tweaked some things he does at the plate. And it's hard to get rid of that stuff once it's ingrained. And I'm making up an excuse, and it deserves further look. It's just something that I want to start thinking about, okay? We got a long time to go before I think I have the time to throw at that. But let's take a quick break. Stick around with me. We're going to look at where this team is from a different perspective now. I want to check in on the progress from 2021 to now. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is this hat I'm wearing. For the Pirates fans like me, who sometimes like to go out there and support my team colors, this one really hits the mark without the logo. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it on the course because honestly, sometimes when I'm out there, I don't feel like answering Pirates questions or hearing Pirates comments, but I do want to rock the colors. So I like to do that. And it's not just hats. Check out cool split shade gloves made for the golf course or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. I mean, I don't have everything, but I'll take a couple more of these gloves. They're pretty sweet. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I am Gary, and I'm super grateful that you're here. Thank you so much. Hit me with a subscribe, hit me with a like. And I got to tell you, you have helped me become one of the faster growing channels here in the MLB Locked On family. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up. Keep telling friends about the show. So let's talk about this rebuild. Not the idea of it, not the hope behind it, but the actual results. Today, we're comparing the 2021 Pirates to the 2025 squad, because 2020, that wasn't a real season, and COVID made sure of that. Ben Cherington barely had a chance to do anything with that team. Couldn't even see his minor leaguers. But 2021, that's when the rebuild truly began. So 5 years later, what do we have? 2021 was the first real year, as I just said. The DH wasn't universal yet, so we'll leave that out of the comp. But the roster featured guys like Jacob Stallings, Colin Moran, Adam Frazier, Brian Hayes, Kevin Newman, Ben Gamble, Brian Reynolds, Gregory Polanco. It was not a championship team by any stretch, but they had some pop. And now in 2025, we're supposed to be seeing the fruits of 5 years of development, 5 years of acquisitions, 5 years of everything. But let's look at the numbers, right? Because numbers don't lie. Here's how the positions stack up, okay? And I should also just insert here, if you're somebody that listens to the show, I understand walls of stats suck. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best to kind of make them digestible. If you're watching, I'm going to put up a chart here in a little bit that'll kind of show you visually what I'm trying to get at. But let's read some stats first. Let's take it by position. So catcher in every number I give first is going to be 2021, and then we'll go on to 2025. So catcher, 210 average, 13 home runs. Right now, 211 average, 6 home runs. First base, 244 average, 22 home runs. Right now, 212 average, 9 home runs. Catching the theme? Second base, 267 average, 10 home runs. Right now, 260 average, 8 home runs. Third base, 242 average, 15 home runs. Right now, 238, 5 home runs. Shortstop, 228 average, 9 home runs. Right now, 248, 3 home runs. Yeah, it sounds like it's all trending in one way, right? How about left field? 251 average, 18 home runs. Right now, 230 and 9. Center field, this is the most comparable of all. 273 average, 25 home runs. Right now, 219 average, 17 home runs. Right field, 235 with 20 home runs. Right now, 226 with 11 home runs. So what stands out? Only the DH and maybe center field are on pace to surpass 2021. And DH, I said, didn't exist. Across the board, power is down, production is down, and that's after 5 years of development. Now, if you're watching the show instead of listening to the show, I'm going to put up a little chart just so you can kind of see visually how this really looks. Look at the plot lines here. Look, the bar chart, first of all, you'll see is 2021 in the orange and red is 2025. It's down across the board, right? And then average, the blue is 2021 and the green is 2025. Well, there's only one position where it's actually higher, shortstop, right? What happened? What happened? How do you produce that in 5 years? They've actually regressed. This team has simply not done well in the power department. It's not just at the major league level. Power is still in short supply at the top 2 levels of the minors. No matter what method they use to improve this team, trades, free agency, development, power has got to start being part of the recipe. Right now, this is just not edible, what they're trying to produce. Now, to be fair, the pitching side, that's where Cherington has made real progress. 2021 versus 2025 pitching stats look a lot different. Wins, 61. Obviously, we have a season to complete yet. But I think you can see where they're pacing. It's 61 wins in 2021. They might hit that in 2025, maybe. ERA was 5.08. Right now it's 3.73. WHIP was 143. Right now it's 120. Opponent average was 264. Right now it's 234. Home runs allowed, 213 in 2021. Good God in the goose fat. Right now, 92. Walks, 610. Right now, 278. Strikeouts, they had 1,223, and they've only got 720 right now. The 2025 staff is better, period. They're allowing fewer runs, fewer hits, fewer walks. They're keeping the team in games, but they can't win games if the offense doesn't show up. So here's the question. How do you ignore this? How do you look at 5 years of work and accept regression in key offensive areas? If Cherington stays, and that is a big if still, there has to be a focus on power. I kind of don't understand how there hasn't been. Pitching alone won't carry this team, and a rebuild that only builds half a team, that's not a rebuild. That's a rerun. It's not been pretty. I was shocked, actually, when I started looking at some of this, because when I looked at the names that were on that 2021 team, this was before I looked up the stats, because you have to refresh your memory. Yeah, I remember, but I don't remember like down to the date all the time. You know, I have a pretty good memory about the roster, but when you really looked at it, I felt like, okay, well, these stats are going to be comparable. That offense was putrid. Hell, they only won 61 games that year. And I looked at this thing and I couldn't freaking believe how much more they produced. Remember, we got a hitting coach fired that year. You know, like, I mean, like that was a year after they were going to replace Epstein, I think was his name. That guy apparently had some kind of secret formula that this guy don't, and the guy before him didn't. The power just dissipated entirely. I don't understand it. I mean, because I don't remember Colin Moran ever being good. I mean, I don't remember Gregory Polanco being decent. Not in that year. Anyway, not in 2021. But man, when you compare it to this roster, damn. I mean, it was better offensively. You can't say it wasn't. Even Ben Gamble. Ben Gamble right now would be arguably our third best outfielder. I mean, just we have not made the progress that you should make in 5 years. That's all. I'm not saying that I expected him to turn this into a world championship team by 2025, but I didn't expect to have the same putrid offensive numbers. I certainly didn't expect to have worse offensive numbers in 2025 than I had in 2021. You can blame a lot of things. You can blame Brian Reynolds as having a bad year. Okay. What else? What else is like one of those situations where you go, "Oh, well, that wasn't my fault." You built this team. You know what I mean? You kind of built this team, and when I look around the diamond, I really think about the power capabilities there. I'm thinking Brian Reynolds is probably 5 or 6 home runs off his pace that he normally hits. I think O'Neal Cruz is right on pace. He's under what we kind of hoped he would do, but he's right on pace for what he has done. Nick Gonzalez, he's missed a whole bunch of the season, so I'm not really sure how you blame him for it. But 4 right now is probably lighter than you'd like. Joey Bart hasn't hit any, hardly, just 1. Yeah, it's just how do you build a team that actually has decreased in such important Major League Baseball statistics? I don't know. It sounds like an indictment to me. Why don't we keep going? Let's go on to State of Confusion. That's going to be the next segment of Locked On Pirates. More than any other emotion this season, confusion has rolled the day. And honestly, it's been that way since last offseason. Nobody knows what the state of the GM is. Nobody knows what he's allowed to do. And maybe more importantly, nobody knows who's setting those limits. Is it Bob Nutting? Is it Travis Williams? Neither of them have any baseball IQ. Could it be Justin Horowitz, the new scouting director? I mean, that would kind of be like putting your 18-year-old shift supervisor in charge while you continue to pay the general manager of the restaurant a lot of money, just because you didn't want to lose face by firing him. Doesn't make any sense. When Derek Shelton was fired, Bob Nutting didn't just remove a manager, he undercut his GM. His comments opened the door to firing Ben Cherington too, or at the very least, neutering his authority. And here's the thing, maybe that wasn't the intention, but Bob hasn't clarified anything. The silence is a message in itself. It basically says to me, I made your bed, now go sleep in it. That's the message that I think's being received loud and clear. To the outside world, this screams dysfunction. Inside the room, it breeds suspicion. Who's safe? Who isn't? Are you better off being traded? Those are the kind of conversations that happen when leadership is absent. And sure, rumors swirl every year at the deadline. But when there's no clear voice at the top, it's a lot harder to shut them down. So who's to blame? Bob Nutting for not spending? Cherington for not spending wisely? Scouting? Development? Pick your target. But here's the truth. Every angle you look at is part of this confusion. And that's the problem. You can't evaluate anything, not a player, not a coach, not a strategy, without first running through this gauntlet of things that just don't make any sense. Let's talk about Paul Skeens. He spoke to Dejan Kovacevic the other day. And there's a couple quotes here a quote here that I just really felt was important. We can play GM and do all that. But with the deadline coming, obviously we need to make the team better for next year. That's what I'm expecting. He went on to say he's hoping for offseason moves and internal growth. He even named O'Neal Cruz and Nick Gonzalez as guys who've taken steps forward. But read between the lines. Paul's saying what the GM said. The difference, well, you can hear the doubt. You can hear the doubt. He's hoping, not trusting. That's what scares me. Nobody can fix this but Bob Nutting. And there's not going to be a rebuild again. They're not going to tear it all down. But they also can't keep doing the bare minimum and expect things to improve. This team plans to return most of its roster from 2025 to 2026. But before they can move forward, they have to come to terms with what just happened, where they are, and what, if anything, they still believe in. They ought to be looking back at something like I just did from 2021 to 2025. And somebody should have to explain how in the hell you took 5 years to somehow get worse offensively. That shouldn't happen no matter what kind of rebuild you do. Period. No matter what method you employed, your offense should not be noticeably worse in 5 years as a bare minimum. It should improve. It's a sad, sad thing. I mean, I'll pop this chart up one more time. Like, I looked at it and I just couldn't believe it because center field, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't even remember who the hell was playing center field. I think it was Brian Reynolds, actually, now that I really think about it. So, I mean, in a way, Brian Reynolds is comping to O'Neal Cruz's year this year. Because O'Neal Cruz is kind of going to make that position one of the few that flipped. But that means Brian Reynolds probably isn't keeping pace with Gregory Polanco in right field, right? Yeah. It's been bad. There's been some bad luck involved here too, but there's been some bad moves. There's just been some bad moves. You know, it's sad when some of your better players are people that you're going to get rid of too. Like, I understand why we're getting rid of them. Like, I don't think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a good shortstop. I want a better shortstop, a better fielding shortstop. I think we have one. I think this Cam Devaney kid is a better fielding shortstop. I think we have 3 or 4 better fielding shortstops. But he hit. And this team needed offense badly, right? Well, they're going to trade him. And does Ben Cherington get to say he was right about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? He acquired him last year at the deadline because he had another year of control. He wanted him here this year. So he was part of the plan for 2025, all the way back to the deadline at last year. They acquired him while he was injured. Does Ben get to say he was right about IKF? Probably. The average has been pretty good. I think he's been a good leader on the team. I don't think he was right to think that he should play shortstop. I think there's better ways that you could have utilized IKF. But they did what they did. Was he right about Tommy Pham, who all of a sudden is now hitting like 260 and like, you know what I mean? Hey, I called that dude every name in the book on the way up here, right? The beginning of the season is the worst I've ever seen. And this last month, it is absolutely no exaggeration to say he has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball. To the point somebody's going to trade for him for sure. But was Ben Cherington right? Was he right? I mean, honestly, his numbers, when you look at what Tommy Pham has done here collectively after he's gone, when you sit down and you just go, plop, this is what Tommy Pham did here in 2025. You're going to go, you know what? Hey, for $5 million, not bad. That's what this. I mean, it's gonna look good for $5 million. But when you look at it like broken down by month, it's gonna look like crap because he didn't do anything for the first few. But was Ben Cherington right? Like, did he acquire an offensive piece that helped? Yeah, he did. And at some point, when we're all feeling much more mature, we're gonna have to admit that. I think Tommy Pham ultimately, he was right. This was a decent signing. The problem is it still didn't address the real need on this team, which we discussed in segment 2. And we've discussed at infinitum throughout this process of me doing Locked On Pirates. Power. Did not address power. Not nearly enough. And so that's why it was still a bad swing. You get what I mean? Even though the results kind of turned out okay, as far as what his final line's going to look like by the time he gets traded, again, I think you're going to be able to look at that and go, you know what? That wasn't that bad of a signing. He was right. We were wrong. And I won't have a problem doing that later on. But I won't let go of the fact that he still didn't answer the biggest problem this team had. They can't hit home runs. They needed somebody that could hit home runs. And I don't mean 10. They needed somebody that could hit 15, 20 home runs that they could put in the middle of this lineup. Tommy Pham was never going to be that answer. But I can honestly say he's provided a hell of a lot more than I thought he would. So in a way, Ben Cherington was right. I think the 5-year track record, though, shows that overall, he simply hasn't been. Not often enough. They've lost a lot of offense from that season to this. And I don't know how you characterize it any other way than to say they took a step back or they regressed. I don't know how you keep your job like that. I won't know if they do decide to keep him. I won't have a clue next year as to why they decided to go this route. I just don't know what evidence they've seen aside from the pitching staff that would lead you to think that's the way to go. If nothing else, they need to leave everything in place that they've put in there for the pitching staff and completely reimagine what they're thinking for the hitting. And unfortunately, most of that imagination comes from Ben Cherington, and I just think they do need to move on. I think they need a new set of eyes and a new set of parameters for things they're looking for. 5 years is a long time to have negative progress in an area that crucial. That's it for this episode of Locked On Pirates. Confusion might be the theme of this season, but clarity has to be the goal. Because without it, no rebuild, no roster, no pitching staff is going to matter. I'll see you tomorrow with an all-new episode of Locked On Pirates. Let's go Bucks.